I just wanted to do a video on kind of on a post I saw today on Facebook, which really made me so angry. I just couldn't believe what I was hearing. You know, this so it's a kind of, woman's talk, as you do in the church, or any kind of religious setting. Women get together and discuss, because obviously if you're in a religious setting, you kind of want to have that, other females to confer with, who are sharing your experience or sharing your faith. So I think it's really important for somebody in your religion to, stay around you and, give you advice and blah, 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 blah. But I am here to say, stop doing that. Stop. Stop taking advice from religious elders when it comes to domestic violence. And I'm just talking about domestic violence here. I should have probably titled the video, Stop Talking to Religious Elders When It Comes to Domestic Violence. They are uneducated. I'm very, very sorry to say. I don't care. I don't care who your grandma is. She's uneducated when it comes to domestic violence. If she's religious, religious, and it's more than likely they do not have the education about domestic violence, and it's kind of a one size fits all. This husband is beating this wife up. He's drunk all the time. He doesn't work. He's like, I think he's on drugs or something like that. This is the example that was being said. This woman goes to this elder in the church and she's asking for advice. My husband's at home, he drinks, he smokes, he doesn't do anything, he lays about. I'm the one that goes to work, and he beats me on top of it, right? And this religious elder tells her, well, we have to all think at first, what did you do? What did you say first to deserve the beating? She didn't quite put it in words like that, to deserve the beating, but she said, what did you do? What did you say before that beating occurred? It doesn't matter what you said or did before that. Of course, not that you were beating him first, because that's a different story. But it doesn't matter what you've said. If you are having a dispute with somebody verbally, verbal dispute, it is a sign of weakness and frustration, and you cannot control your anger to then resort to violence. Because if I'm having an argument with my husband, for example, and he's resorting to violence, that shows that he cannot cope with this argument with words. He has to show me his frustration with a beating. There's nothing that any wife or any partner could say that could constitute a beating. I'm sorry. And this elder is bang out of line to sit in front of an entire congregation of young girls, young women who are gonna go into a marriage with that mindset that, oh, if my husband beats me, I need to pussyfoot around him, or I think it can work both ways. If my wife beats me as well, I need to pussyfoot around her to and make sure I'm talking in certain ways to not get a beating. No, absolutely not. You should feel free in your home. That should be the person that you can hash things out with and have disagreements with. To say, what did you do? It's probably your mouth, taking biblical scriptures like, oh, your mouth is sharper than a two-edged sword and all that kind of rubbish. It's ridiculous, and it's victim shaming. It's making the victim say, I need to now look within myself to change, to change. It's always the victim's fault. How is it the victim's fault? The victim doesn't walk around with a sign on the head saying, beat me up, husband, or beat me up, partner. No. How about these elders encourage abusers to take responsibility for their lack of anger management? How about they school these emotionally out of control, mentally unstable, sadistic husbands on how to control their anger and not get into relationships unless they can control their anger? If you are angry with your wife, why don't you take a breather? Why don't you leave the home? Why don't you go for a walk or something like that? Why should you throttle her, strangle her, slap her, stab her? you know I think a couple, I saw another post on Facebook that was similar to this, and this woman here in London, she ends up being stabbed. Her lips were slashed. He burnt her with hot water. He tortured that woman. He tortured her. Her husband tortured her until she died. He watched her die. And if she had survived that beating, the most upsetting thing of the entire situation is that those same elders would have encouraged her to go back to her husband's house and endure even more beating. Oh, prayer and war room, this elder, this uneducated elder, um, you know, I'm calling her uneducated because at the end of the day, I don't really care if you have a PhD and whatever. At the end of the day, if you're telling a young girl that she needs to stay in a marriage and pray about it, you are uneducated. You are glorifying yourself because you sit front row in the church. That does not make you educated. Because you have a PhD or a degree or whatever, you might own your own business, you may work, blah, blah, blah. I don't really care. You are uneducated. If you can sit down and tell a young girl to sit down and stay and take the beating, right? You are uneducated. I don't care who you are. Okay. So they would have encouraged this woman to stay in that marriage, and just work on the way you talk to him. Oh, if you know he's come back from work, don't be asking him questions. Oh, make sure, why didn't you have the dinner set out on time? Why didn't you iron the shirts on time? Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? Why didn't he just not beat you? Why didn't he just not beat you though? Why? I just don't see how you can blame this victim for all the things that she has or hasn't done when none of them equate to physical violence or beating or burning or stabbing, you know? A lot of religious elders will also say something like, divorce is the last option. And I say no, divorce is not the last option. Divorce is the first option. When you see this person cannot control their temper, I don't care if they have substance misuse issue, whether they're an alcoholic, whether they don't have a job, or whether they do have an amazing job and they're the breadwinner and they provide all the money, or they're super rich and buy you flashy cars and handbags or whatever. If you see a person cannot control their temper, run away. Run away. Because they will beat you and they will not stop beating you. They will do it again. It's not all, I was just really angry that day and, I'll never do it again. Nearly every victim of domestic violence can say that their abuser said they wouldn't do it again. Okay? They will always do it again. It's in their nature. They cannot control their temper. That is something you cannot control. A victim cannot take the responsibility of a grown adult's abusive behavior. I will not sit down and blame myself. Oh, my husband beat me because I said something that he didn't like. He should have built the emotional resilience by now before getting into this relationship, right? He should have built that emotional resilience that no matter what my wife says to me or no matter what my husband says to me, I am not going to resort to violence. I will rather walk out, take a breather, spend a few days away, whatever you need to do, right? But I will not put my hands on you. That shows a person that has self-control, okay? These people are just abusive. They are just out of control. And these elders need to be calling it out for what it is. There are no biblical principles or religious principles that can fix an abusive person. You cannot go into a room and pray and fast for your abusive partner. They're not going to do any, oh, God can change anything. God cannot change an abusive person. I don't care. Honestly, that is my opinion, and I will stand by that. God cannot change an abusive person. Okay? God can only change you. God can change how quick you walk out of that relationship, because that's what you're going to have to do eventually anyway. As I said, divorce is not the last option. Divorce is the first option. I'll tell you what the last option is. The last option is you will die. Death is the last option. Divorce is the first option. death is the last option. Okay? Many women have lost their lives because all they're trying to do is be good women, good people, standing by their husband, standing in their marriage, staying for the kids, respecting their elders, pleasing the family and this kind of thing, staying in abusive relationships until they die. This is true. Does somebody close to you need to die for you to know that this is not okay? Excusing the abuser's behavior and saying that women need to start, calming down with the way they talk and not giving the husband attitude and all of this, and that's going to stop them from getting beaten. No, this man is going to, if he has a psychological disorder, he will more than likely look for a problem to cause in the house, right? He could cause a problem from anything, as I said before, not ironing my shirts on time, or not why wasn't the dinner ready, why is the house a mess, or whatever. He can cause a problem out of anything and deliberately beat you for that. So it doesn't matter what you do or how you talk to him or whatever. If you are destined to be beaten in that marriage or relationship, you're destined to be beaten in there, because this is an abusive person. More than likely, anybody that has abused somebody has abused somebody before, or they're going to abuse their future partner. If my husband beat me, he's more than likely to go on and abuse his future partner, or he has already beat his ex-wife or ex-girlfriend or whatever. Okay? These people are aggressive in nature. Okay? Same goes for women. Women who attack men, beat men, and think they're not going to get a beating back and all that kind of, they aggravate violence. They think they can be hitting men over the head with frying pans and stuff like that. I've heard these stories before, right? So I'm not at all saying that it's only men that are the aggressors. More often than not, men are the aggressors, but we do have female cases of domestic violence where the woman is the perpetrator, and this happens a lot. Okay, what I'm trying to say is, do not give yourself a life sentence of hell because you want to please the elders, or you think what they're saying is sensible advice. This is not sensible. It is not sensible at all. What religion does is it encourages you to switch off your thinking. Okay, that's what it does. Switch off your thinking. You're thinking, okay, this mommy of the house, this elder, this religious virtuous woman who's been married for so long to this virtuous man or whatever, religious guy or whatever. I should be taking advice from her because she's somebody I look up to and whatever. No. Do not take advice from her. She's only going to tell you to stay in an abusive marriage. As I said, any woman that can educate another woman, and especially a younger woman, you're sitting in front of 15-year-olds, 14-year-olds and telling them, if your husband beats you, you need to stay in there. You are an uneducated woman. I repeat, if you tell any woman that is experiencing domestic violence, or when she does experience domestic violence, she should stay in that relationship because she's going to get some sort of good graces from God, or she's being a virtuous woman, or Proverbs 21 woman, or whatever it is, right? You are dumb. You are uneducated, because that makes no sense. Okay, everybody runs away from danger. If you see danger coming, you need to run. Why would you stay in there? What reward are you getting from staying in that relationship? Just so everybody can say, oh, sister so-and-so has been married for how long? Sister so-and-so and her successful marriage. Listen, I think a lot of women, and I'm just talking for women right now, I think a lot of women see a divorce as some kind of failure. If I don't stay in my marriage, then I failed. This is my childhood dream. This is what I've always wanted. I'm finally here. I'm living that dream. I am now an example to other women. Now I've joined the clan of successful women by being married. Getting divorced is not a failure, and it's not a death sentence either. I think a lot of elders as well, religious elders, will say, if you divorce, you can never remarry. You're going to look undesirable to a lot of other men. You've destroyed your life. You just look like, a loose woman, or you look like somebody that, shouldn't be touched or even respected, because now you're, used goods or broken goods. No, 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 no. If you stay in there, you're becoming broken goods. If you stay in that relationship, you are giving yourself a life sentence. That's what you're doing. Why would you deny yourself when there's so many other good men? There are good men out there that will pick you up after you've been broken and beaten down by this lunatic. There are men that will take you. There are men out there, good men, that will not beat you no matter how heated the argument gets. They will not touch you because they know they have that emotional intelligence. They have anger management. You know what? I'm getting a bit angry right now. I'm gonna just leave the house. I'm gonna go for a drive. I'm gonna take a walk or whatever. That is respectful. Punching a woman in the face because she told you that your shoes are too dirty or whatever the problem may be in the household. What? Really? You are giving yourself a life sentence. I am encouraging all women or men out there, anybody experiencing domestic violence, and maybe you're a religious person, so it's very difficult for you to come out of that relationship without receiving a whole heap of backlash, scrutiny, and demonizing from your religious background or even family pressure as well. I'm encouraging you to be brave and get yourself out of that situation. Stop taking this advice from these elders who do not have your best interest, because all they're thinking about is what those scriptures say or blah blah blah. But even if we are going to scriptures and things like that, there is no way in the Bible it says that if your husband is beating you, you need to stay there. There is nowhere that it says that. So if you are in the belief that, okay, the only way I can get out of this marriage, maybe I think it says something like if your partner commits adultery, then you have the right to leave or whatever. Listen, domestic violence is adultery. It is adulteration of your soul. It is adulteration. It is using you. It's abusing you. How is that not adulteration? This person fits the bill to get the hell out of your life. Do not deny yourself of an emotionally stable partner. Do not deny yourself of being happy. Yes, you may have made a mistake with this particular person, but there is joy on the other side. Do not wait another year more. Get out now, because you're only going to say, oh, I should have left then. Oh, I should have left when he broke my nose. I should have left when I had the second child. I should have left when, my teeth came out. Or I should have left when, the social services got involved or whatever. You are only delaying what is inevitable. And there are only two things that are inevitable. You're going to leave the relationship anyway and not listen to what these elders are telling you eventually, or you're going to die. You're going to die. So that is the last option. So I say choose life. Stop listening to these rogue, uneducated elders that think they're giving you sound advice. Make the decision to stand and leave that relationship. That's all I have to say.